Participate in a conversation with once conservative, now liberal Midwest mastered prepared special education high school teacher and a self-proclaimed devil's advocate, East Coast conservative liberal, baccalaureate prepared registered nurse. These two strangers met, became instant friends, and realized their conversations are candid and epic. So join us weekly, ask us questions, and listen to these profoundly candid friends try to solve the world's problems, one discussion at a time.
Hey, welcome to another awesome episode of The New Theory with Monet and Jared, aka TNT with MJ. I am Jared.
I'm Monet.
And together we are teaching minds
and nurturing souls. I just want to start off by saying, forgive me, hold on. I'm exhausted. It's hot outside. I've had a very busy week. I had the very beginnings of my orientation at Mount Sinai. Yay! So excited, very happy, maybe a little celebratory, but for the most part, just finally settling into my new life. Very excited. So if I seem like I'm a little tired, I am.
Yeah. No, totally understand.
Jared's here to take the reins like he usually does. And we're about to dive into what happened this past weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it was a good time. If you recall the last time from our last conversation, I had behind me a little promo, little plug for the rally and demonstration that I had organized with the help of Zen Education Project. I got to make sure I get that plug in.
Go Zen! Woohoo!
I know, man. It's a good organization. Go to Rethinking Schools and Teaching for Change. Yeah, so the rally and demonstration that I was able to organize, we held over this weekend, Saturday morning from 10 a to we actually called it about 11:30. Unfortunately, we did not have the crowd that I was hoping for or that I had expected, but that's okay.
How many people?
We had 4 adults, and so we had about 7 people altogether.
You know
and if
what?
you count the news crew, we still had people out there, even with the news crew, because that just drew a crowd in and of itself, and so that helped bring awareness as well. And
that's the whole objective.
Exactly. And we were able to get the message across to an awesome kaleidoscope of humanity as they drove by, because we were on a small stretch of road that connected 2 main other stretches of road or main thoroughfares in the city. And so it was quite a bit of high traffic, and we had a couple of local news outlets come out and record and interview us. And then had a reporter from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette out of Fort Smith come out and interview as well. So that was awesome. I've yet to see the printout for the Dem Gazette, but I have posted the videos from the local news outlets that came out.
The interviews.
Yeah.
You know what?
They both of them did a really good job. Both of them did a really great job of representing what the message was and presenting our what we were doing. And other than being mistaken as a history teacher for Springdale instead of a special education teacher, they did a really great job. I thought so. Anyway, so
you know what, Jared, the focus when I listen to you talk about this change, this form of educational change, and how passionate you are about it. It literally makes me like we need to really galvanize, because you are on the precipice of something incredible, something that's never, I say, happened before with regards to making people aware of their own existence and their part we all play in this thing called life. We're now we're calling it race. It's coming from a racial perspective, but it's not really about a racial perspective. It's about all perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And you are out there canvassing, communicating, educating. You're so poised. You're so calm.
I try to be. Thank you. You've been too kind.
But like, it's like, look at the individual that's conveying this information, world. He was raised in a lot of the ways that at least 60% of Americans were raised. Or let's even say 40%, with an ideology, with an understanding that life is what I see in my environment.
Yeah.
Whatever the people that came before me, whatever information they gave me, I trust it and I believe it and I support it. And I'm not gonna, because I'm trying to teach my children. If I show my children I trust and I support, then I'm by proxy, I'm teaching my children. So this is how we learn, by watching our elders.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's like the record skipped. It's like, hold on, hey, I didn't want to ask too many questions, because then I didn't want to usurp your authority or make you feel like what you're telling me isn't correct. But some of this,
there's more to the story. Yeah, there's a flip side of this coin.
Yeah. I mean, it's a part of the coin. It's still part of the coin. So it's not like this history is going to change. It's just that there are more circumstances surrounding it that kind of cultivate how we feel about all kinds of people today.
Exactly.
And we keep trying to tell people via this podcast that there's a delineation between the two type of theories out there, right? One of them is called race theory.
Critical race theory.
And what you're saying, which is just teach the truth.
Exactly.
And people are confusing the two. Is that correct?
That's very correct. And it's really because the right to center, if not the far right, how about the whole right? I'll just say that. The whole right.
All of them.
Are using critical race theory as a way to muddy the waters, and your average citizen, take that for what is. I'm not trying to insinuate anything. Just your average citizen, your average individual, your average white individual hears that and is triggered. Like, oh my God, no, I don't want my kid thinking that we're racist, or that our country was founded by racists, and all these whatever else excuses and narratives that are being presented in those media outlets on the right. It's not that. It's really not that. I mean, you look at, we can argue the word theory.
The word itself,
evolution theory.
Mm-hmm.
Can we argue that we can argue evolution? And I'm trying to make comparisons. Like, it's there's no real right or wrong to it as far as the theory itself is concerned, because it's not neither proven nor disproven. But even then, and I made this clear in my interview, in one of the interviews, that critical race theory is just not a class you take.
No.
Even on the college level, even on the grad school level, it's not a class that you enroll in.
Taught.
Exactly.
It has to be developed.
It's something that's presented within the context of what's being presented. And in most cases, for critical race theory, it's legal and educational systems at a post-grad level.
All right, so Jared, can you just give a small example for those that still are very confused as to, like, well, what do you mean it can't be taught? And if it is, it's at a grad or post-grad level.
Because the theory itself analyzes the role of racism within the legal system. Okay. As far as, for example, privatized prison, legalized slavery, the Fugitive Slave Act.
One and the same.
Exactly. The formation of the police department as we know it today. That
stems from
the Fugitive Slave Act. So,
but they're going to argue and say, no, they had police officers in England.
And I have to go back and do my research because I did read up on that, but my
who were also indentured
that
servants.
article and that information is escaping me right now, so I can't speak wholly onto that right now. But I have
something
read.
To do. It's like just like what the slave catchers were here. They were looking for the debtors.
Okay.
They were like prison. Bounty hunter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They were like bounty hunters.
Yeah.
Like detectives are in a sense. They just have
right.
a different name.
Right. Okay. I remember reading a little bit about that now that you bring that up. I just, like I said, I couldn't recall.
It's just people want to argue instead of face facts as it is. Look at the situation. And then when they have black friends, they're like, I don't know what to say to you, but I'm sorry. No.
For what?
I don't need you
Why?
to do that. Exactly. But what I do need you to do is sign this damn petition so we can have equal. Sorry. Why are you laughing?
No, you're good. No, yeah. Hey, well, I've got your attention. Hey, sign. No, that's great.
Sorry.
No, you're right though.
Sign a petition and be like, hey, why does this black kid get 8 years and this white kid gets 60 days at a community service?
For the same age, same crime.
Use your
virtually same circumstances, yet this kid
use your legal paralysis if you're a professional or your doctorate level education to read through, comb through case after case, get a nonprofit organization. And I'm not just talking about race because it's socioeconomics too. There's kids that are Hispanic, white, Native American that are being subjugated because of a disparaging financial system, this capitalist system that we live in.
Yeah,
that people say, you say it like it's a bad word. Well, I'm not trying to, but
even then, that still goes to the history of the formation of this country and really power.
Yeah.
It can be summed up in one word, and it's power. But does that make me as a white man inherently evil because I'm white like the guys who founded the country based on race and supremacy and power? No. No, it doesn't. So, but the point being, going back to what you were trying to say earlier, is you can't change the facts. The facts are the facts. There's no disproving that. What happened. It's what you do with that information is what matters.
That's right.
And I've said this before, and I'll continue saying it. Just goes back to learning from our mistakes. If we learn from mistakes, like they say we do, like our teachers taught us, growing up. Even math teachers today will teach, that growth mindset thing, like, hey, we all make mistakes, that type of thing. We learn from mistakes. Well, guess what? Historically speaking, is true as well. And so that being said, not to argue the greatness of the country, it's just, how great are we as a country if those mistakes have not been taught or are not taught, much less acknowledged?
That's like Germany not teaching about the Holocaust.
You know what they did? If I remember this correctly,
rectified that shit
completely.
Look at their roadmap.
They owned it and they rectified it. They didn't put up any monuments. They kept the reminders of what was. They kept
their
the
museums
open, not open, but the museums. They kept the camps as historic sites. And there's something else in the schools that they were teaching in the schools in regards to that.
But there's fines with people that want to hang the flag or jail time for people that want to, like, that shit's real. That's saying, hey, That
Yeah.
fucked up the world. It got people
Yeah.
killing each other for nothing.
Exactly.
That's not
Exactly.
necessary. And that's what critical theory, that's what the ability to have critical thinking does. It
And
helps
that's
you
what I boil it down to
rationalize.
is critical thinking. That's all critical. For me, that's all CRT is, what critical race theory is. It's just critical thinking. You take this information that's in front of you and really you just kind of assimilate that with your mental schema that you've already developed as far as who you are and what this nation is and where your role is in the nation, you know, and all those other things. And then you just continue to develop that.
And then you let it grow
and continue to
into
mold that. And what you do with it after that is on you. But
period.
are you better or worse off because you've had to go through that? You know what I'm saying? You know,
it's not going to kill you.
Exactly.
To think better, to be more compassionate,
to want better for yourself, to want better for your community, to want better for your nation.
Your nation, the world.
You want to talk nationalism? Let's talk nationalism.
Let's look at the amount of people that put masks on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were trying to protect themselves. But in hindsight, protecting themselves from other people, they were also protecting other people from themselves.
Exactly.
And maybe only 30% of the people was like, yo, I may have COVID. I don't want nobody to get sick. I'm going to even stay home.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are like, I'm staying home because I'm afraid. And then you have people like, I don't give a fuck. You have people licking shit. But that was a very small percentage. I know. I remember this silly ass. I just tested positive for COVID. He started licking door handles and whatever. Now you're going to get E. coli, windows. He's at Walmart just doing dumb shit. And so I'm thinking to myself, but that was a very small percentage of fucked up people.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we all mobilize with our voices and our kindness and our compassion and we kind of centralize, we can then put those assholes on the outskirts. People like, Monet, you always dream of a utopia. If I don't, who the fuck else will? Fuck.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm serious. Like, can we all just like dream of a utopia, please? I don't care. I do. I like being genuinely happy.
Sorry, I went totally like, I'm with you, and then I went this way.
Yeah, because
because I, for one, dream of a world where everybody knows that the bird is the word. Thank you, Peter Griffin. Just saying. No, but there's my utopia right there. No,
you're right.
No, but to your point, I posted this the other day. To your point about vaccines and stuff like that. I reposted this not too long ago, but it says I don't know who needs to hear this, but polio and smallpox never reached natural herd immunity. They were eradicated by vaccines.
Yeah.
There's no need. There is absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely no reason for us to be having this conversation about fucking masks this next year.
Yeah.
Period.
Just do it.
Shouldn't be. This should not be an issue.
Get your vaccine. Get your vaccine.
But again, going back to what we started out talking about was history. Just
look at the past.
We're doomed to repeat our history if the fucking mistakes are not taught, if much less acknowledged. And here we are repeating fucking history.
Exactly.
2021, and we're still arguing voting rights.
How ridiculous! How?
This should have been resolved in 64.
Yeah.
Or was it 63? It was 64 and then 63 was March, 64 was voting rights, and then 65 was civil rights, if I remember that right.
Yes.
And that's at the most recent. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, it's in a lot of people's generations. a lot of people are alive now were alive back then.
But here we are. And here we are about I can't, Monet.
You know why? Because it's like, aren't you concerned? Like, okay, so are you afraid that you can't keep up with the conversation when your kid comes home? Well, then in turn, won't that make you better? Because then you'll go out and do your own research, and then you can have a conversation with your kid when they come home, which will then in turn make you empowered and want to do more. Just saying, not about protesting, but maybe, I don't know, taking up a trade, going back to school, showing your child this is how it's done.
Learning from mistakes.
And learning from mistakes. Because that's how I rather live in contentment than pure, like, because exhilaration and happiness. Because sometimes when you have blinders on and you live in your false utopia, then you're not gaining anything.
Yeah.
So the contentment is the ebb and flow of life. I know there's another corner coming, and I'm like, what does this mean? I learned something new today. God, if I could tell you everything that I learned the past 5 days, didn't know.
Yeah.
I can't even quantify it in the list because it's so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm 46, and I'm not completely inept. You know, I'm kind of tangible. Like I'm accessible.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'm
you
like,
know how to get shit done.
Right? This is new.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you do with that new information, though? I mean,
I like to talk.
Does it attack you as a person? Does it attack your identity? Does it?
Oh God, no.
Does it? Ruin your perspective on the world and what your role is in society and all these other whatever?
Let them know, Jared.
Excuse you want to throw at it? You know,
No, it doesn't change who you are. If anything, it already enhances the type of person you are.
Because now you can speak, dare I say, more intelligently on more than a handful of topics. You know? It just blows my mind.
So sad. So sad.
Yeah. That's a word for it. So I just finished reading How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I listened to the audiobook. It was really kind of interesting. Now, the first thing that surprised me was that Dr. Ibram Kendi narrated his own book. So that was kind of cool, because then he was able to read it the way he wants it read and the way he wants it portrayed.
And the inflex in his...
Exactly. Emphasizing what he feels needs to be emphasized, because that's his work. You know, he knows what he's wanting to get across. And so that was really kind of cool. But I didn't realize the layers of racism that there are.
I have a question.
Yeah.
No, finish your. Go ahead, please finish. But it just popped into my head.
No, he kind of, you've got racism as an umbrella, but within that umbrella, you have behavioral racism, cultural racism, gender racism, sexual identity racism, skin color racism. That type of
colorism.
Colorism. And then casteism kind of went with the colorism. But and so he kind of broke it down just really well, in my opinion. And for those that don't know, he actually is the director of the I think it's the Anti-Racist Studies at Howard University, if I remember that correctly.
No.
And African American history, but
Every time you read these books, Jared, and you enlighten yourself, I always ask you, how do you feel as a white man? Do you feel threatened?
No, not at all.
Why
If anything,
don't
I feel
you? That shit's intimidating to hear black people complain about white people. Is that what the book was about?
no. The book was about just make. He actually, at one of the first things he said was address the question of can black people be racist?
Oh shit! Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, he addressed that from the beginning.
And what was his answer?
Absolutely, racism is racism.
Period.
Because you hear white people claiming, well, they're being that's just reverse racism. Racism is racism. There's no such thing as reverse racism. Racism is racism.
I say
Now,
this to.
here's the thing: being racist is no different than being stupid.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay.
Period.
Now, by that I mean, I can say your actions are racist. I can say your actions are stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But am I calling you stupid? And at the same time, am I calling you directly racist? No. I'm identifying your behavior and your choice.
As a racist.
I'm not labeling you as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get over that shit real quick. I can say, man, you're just being so stupid. What, I'm stupid? No. I didn't say you were stupid. I said what you did was stupid. You've done some really great things and really some smart things. But right now you're being stupid. Same thing. Right now you're being racist. You've done some really cool anti-racist things in the past and stood up with your brothers and sisters from time to time, but right now you're being outright racist.
Yeah. How do you check black people that are being racist, though?
I don't.
No. Like I'm not gonna lie. Black people,
I personally don't.
It's okay if all those white people eat lunch together.
Now, if it's someone that I know, someone that I'm comfortable with, that's one thing. But I'm like, I'm more apt to correct a random white stranger's behavior than I am a random black stranger's behavior, or a random black or brown person's behavior.
Yeah,
I'm not, because believe it or not, as a white person, I know what our white culture is.
Yeah. No, I'm saying the same thing. That's why I do it to black people.
Yeah. I'm just
let white people be themselves, because they'll deny that shit till the cows come home if a black person confronts them. But they're more than apt to pause and reflect if another white person. Mm-hmm. Same thing with black people. I tell my black coworkers it's okay if all those white people eat lunch together. They're not racist. They just know each other and they feel more comfortable in that environment. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like. Why don't you fucking invite your ass? Because 9 times out of 10, guess where my black ass is gonna sit? With the people I identify with, and they're all different nationalities. One day they look like this. One day they may all be black. Yeah. One day it may be all the white people. Who fucking knows?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, just because you see it, don't start. Oh, they must be racist. I can tell you one thing though. When I'm in the Upper East Side, all the white people, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. They give me the heebie-jeebies. It's a feeling. It's like, what your black ass doing here? Like, it's just a feeling like they don't want her with her. I don't want to be here either. I don't want to see nothing that look like me, and this don't make me comfortable. Now, I know white people have heard black people say that. And they're like, well, Monet, what does that mean? I'm still subjugated. I still have white people trauma. Now, if I don't say this shit in front of my 8-year-old son and he's walking, he'll just see a group of people eating. He's not going to see, well, no, he now sees white people a little bit, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But there was a time for a fact he would have just only seen people. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I am so reactive and feel so dismissive of wanting to be in that environment is when I tell my friends, and it's not resonating like it used to, but it's starting to surface in a way that I'm now more able to identify it and say it's not racist, Monet. But living in New York, working in New York, there's a certain section that white people just won't go. Like there's certain sections that white people will tell you, I'm not going to that. And it's not just Harlem. There's certain sections in Harlem they go. There's certain sections in Washington Heights they go. But if you mention a certain street number, they're just like, I'm not going that far. Or I don't go there. It's just because they're like, I cannot identify with those people. I don't understand those people. I'm not comfortable in that environment. Now here I am, Mrs. Cultural, the UN itself. Like I don't give a fuck. I'll go any goddamn where because I feel comfortable with every fucking body, and I don't. The train don't bother me. The bus don't bother me. I don't give a fuck. Like I'm with that shit.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not mad at them or disappointed in them. It's just like this is all I know. Because then it's like, what am I telling?
There you go. That's it right there. This is all I know.
Yeah, but
this is all I've been taught. This is all I know. This is what I'm.
This is all I know. This is what I'm comfortable with. And so the reality is, okay, this is all you know. This is what you're comfortable with. And then it is awkward to walk into an environment if you're not from that environment or you're not inherently comfortable in that environment. Mm-hmm. If you inherently are not, then don't do it. Because it's just like any animal. We are still animals. And animals can sense that shit. Case in point, me being in the Upper East Side. Them people don't want me there. I could feel it. And I'm like, I don't want to be around scared people. So let me get my black ass out of here. Because scared people are dangerous. So I'm not putting myself in that situation. Let me get out of here. Let me give off my aura or whatever and be like, I'm leaving.
Yes, that is scared. Fear. Let me go.
Yes, that is fear. I'm leaving. But then when you're in a one-on-one situation and you smile, I personally like making people. I personally love. No, I'm that. I am. Oh, Jared, I can't wait till we spend some time together. I am that person. Forward to it. I know that talks. I'm that person that talks to strangers. You know that.
That's how we met.
That's how we met. And I like to gauge how comfortable they are with this conversation. If they can relate to this conversation. I do shit in the elevator. I be on the elevator at work. Be like, damn, I almost got off on the wrong floor. And some people will laugh at that. Be like, because I do the same thing. And in that instant, you're realizing, for me, I guess what I get off on is just identifying with people, period. Mm-hmm. Recognizing.
Well, you're a nurse. Share. I mean, that's a gift you have to have right off the bat. When you go into that room, you have to be able to connect. Yes. Within the first couple of seconds, or period. You're lost. And I can only speak to the iceberg tip or tip of the iceberg on that as a CNA once.
But a teacher has to do the same thing.
Well,
you have to gauge the room. You have to read.
You're right.
I
have to gauge the room, but by and large, the teachers already kind of come in with this air of authority, and the students feel that, and they're like, "Oh, that's the teacher. We got to respect the teacher. We got to listen to the teacher."
Don't you think the same thing happens to a nurse? They're like, "Oh, the nurse is here."
You've already told me that's not the case.
Well, a lot of times,
No.
That's one of the things.
You don't get the. I would say that between the two of us, you don't get that same experience as I do, as far as
commanding
across the board. Teachers the authority. That doesn't, based on what you were saying, that doesn't happen with the nurses.
No, they'd be like, get the doctor or get the other nurse. Not so much. But what I had to train myself.
But you're right. I mean,
my first year of nursing.
You still have a gift that you have to have. I mean, there's just gotta have.
Well,
it.
I mean,
because it's one-on-one immediately.
Yeah, I like when I walk in the room and they see the uniform, the face, everything, and they're like, "She's here. She's gonna take care of me." Mm-hmm. And I have to let them know that from second one, like I'm here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can't break that trust because that's a very hard trust to restore for anybody.
Much less to establish.
And you're like, I'm not, and then you have to remember, I'm dealing with like minorities of all walks of life that are like, Americans will kill you in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah.
American medicine is not the greatest. It's like, well, this one really works. Okay. I promise. Oh God, I tell you, this process that we're going on, this journey. All right, so no, I don't know if I'm being too presumptuous, but you guys have flyers. Yeah, you got homework, my love, for
Okay.
your next rally.
You're right.
Flyers. You need to get connected with other social organizations. You need to come up with your statement so that when you do connect via email, fly, letter, postcard, whatever, with these other social organizations within Arkansas. So, because more people. This is too powerful for just 7 to 15 people to have attended. This
You're
is
right.
something where you guys need 100 people. You need a megaphone. We need a microphone.
Let me tell you what lies ahead in the next few weeks.
Yes, I want to know.
Because already, so a couple of other local educators and myself are looking to organize a small group coalition. We've already put a name to it, Educators Equity Coalition, so the EEC, based out of here in Springdale, Arkansas. Our first meeting is August 7th for local educators who share similar values and mindsets that we do. And that is honest and courageous.
Did you set up a Zoom link for the 7th?
I did not set up.
Set up a Zoom link for those that want to stay anonymous. Sorry. For those that want, there's going to be
they're not going to be able to stay anonymous. I mean, even with Zoom, they're not going to.
At least so they can see where it's going, how it's being run. I'm being devil's advocate, Jared.
Okay.
I'm being devil's advocate. That's all. Only because it gives those people, come on, there's white people that's like, I agree, but if Becky Sue sees me, then she's going to think I'm one of you. What I really am, but I don't want anybody to know. And that's still the social stigma that your community faces. So give them an opportunity to join anonymously. Here's a web link. And like a promo commercial.
As you're talking, I'm formulating how I can make that happen in the venue that we're going to be at. So.
And if at the end they want to give their information or show their face or whatever, they're more than welcome to,
But the bottom line being in that regard for that meeting is one of the immediate actions that we can take as a group is to help sponsor or help.
It's just water.
Promote and organize. You're good. Help promote or organize our next rally, which is August 28th, which is the 58th anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
Yeah.
Where MLK, Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech, his famous I Have a Dream speech that would never have happened without, who was it, Monet? Who was she was a Black female artist. I didn't have to say female because I'm using, pronoun she, but oh my goodness. I can't remember who it was, but it was
Didn't she speak before him?
Maybe.
Because we were talking about this last year.
But I remember he'd stopped his speech and there was a long pause and she goes up to him and says, tell him about the dream. And then that's what becomes famous is the I Had a Dream, And so that's where that happened. And for the life of me, I cannot remember who that woman's name was. I want to say her first name started with an M, but I cannot remember.
Mahalia Jackson? No.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound right.
I know she was there.
So at any rate, I will definitely do my research and have this posted when I drop this episode. Like, oh, by the way, Anyway, and so you will probably have already read this if you're watching this now. I'm just saying.
Now you know what he's talking about. I love it.
But hey, so I want to go back real quick because we got a little bit of time to do so. You had, and I want to try to make a religious connection here because I made a comment to nationalism. We've talked about racial identity. We talked about.
I love being in
we
New
talked
York.
about self um, feeling like you're being attacked as a white person on your identity because, oh my gosh, there's something new that I didn't know about my ancestors or about this nation, blah 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 blah, whatever BS you want to throw at it.
Yep.
But you had brought up your son, your 8-year-old son.
Had it been like 2 years ago, a year ago, he'd be like, this
he would have
people.
just seen people,
But
not
now,
white people, but people.
And he wouldn't have cared.
And so, in my attempt to kind of counter that Christian nationalism narrative, I wonder if that's what Jesus meant. One of the many aspects that Jesus meant when he said to enter heaven, you have to have the mindset of a child.
Oh God, yes. I love being a fucking kid that curses. I do.
Hell to the yeah. No.
Hell to the yeah. No,
but point being, I'm like, you said it. You've said it so poignantly. I mean, your 8-year-old son, never considered color, never considered race.
No, he didn't.
A year ago, 2 years ago, and now he's seeing it.
And he's like, oh, there's
and now because
I can feel it.
He's going to see that divide. But he
Jared,
sees it. You got I almost said you guys. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, babe. Go ahead. No, say it. Who cares?
Black and brown people see the divide. Okay. Yeah. They see it. They experience it. They feel it. White people don't. And because we don't, it's hard for us to see it, much less identify with it.
Well, then that's when Jane.
But then you go back to my point of bringing religion into this. When Jesus says you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven except without the mindset of a child, and granted, I'm paraphrasing that horribly, but he did say something to that effect. You have to have the mindset of a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. That means you see humanity.
Yeah.
You see humanity. You don't see black, brown, white, whatever color in between.
The thing is, but
you see humanity.
So I say this to say, then how do we? Because people are like, well, now once you see it, you're done, and it's like, no, not really. No. This is how you go back. This is how you can reverse it by acknowledging that you do see it. Because what do kids do? Hey, what's that? Yeah, I see
exactly.
It.
They call it out.
They call it out.
They call it out, label it for what it is, and then what can you do to help fix that?
Fix it, and then guess what? Now we can frolic off and be friends.
Exactly.
I fucks with you and have a good time.
And oh my gosh, did you lose yourself in that exchange? Did you lose identity of who you are as a macho man or whatever else BS you want to throw?
What does that mean? Fuck all that.
I don't know. That's just been my stereotypical responses that I've gotten in the past. I grew up in the peanut gallery, therefore there's no such thing as racism. BS.
Yeah, no, there is.
That it doesn't work like that.
It is.
No.
People have may not have gone out and wanting to lynch people and shit like that and burning people's houses down. But to say that it doesn't exist is like, you're an idiot. You're lying. Oh, you do believe in Santa Claus and the fucking Easter Bunny and shit like that. Go ahead, wait for the Tooth Fairy. I'll help you. Just sit there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I'll sit here and wait until you figure it out, until you bring me proof that exists. Yeah.
Stop with the bullshit. No, the childlike mind. Because then once you get to the point where you do acknowledge, okay, no, that shit existed, and I did have some relatives, and sometimes I did think some really fucked up shit. And now that I'm
sitting here thinking like I shared this before. I wasn't too far off from being able to prove or show, at least from the records that were available, that I descended from slave owners and traders from South Carolina. I mean, there's no accident that there's black people out there with the last name Middleton.
Oh, I was driving today And I was like, yo, my maiden name is Washington.
Yeah.
If
I'm glad you said it
that
because I was
ain't
about
saying,
to.
if I ain't saying who my fucking owner was, and you're like, no, yeah, from Maryland, Virginia, my ancestors come from. Real shit. Before they moved to Pennsylvania.
South Carolina. South Carolina to Georgia to Tennessee to up to Kentucky, back to Tennessee to Arkansas.
Wow. Literally,
I mean,
my grandmother, my father's mother,
but does that make? I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Moved to Pennsylvania from Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And then my uncle and my aunt, like all of the aunts, all my grandmother's siblings came after she got up here with her husband.
Mm. Wow.
It was no coincidence I can go to relatives' houses within walking distance. As a child.
Wow. Wow.
Just saying.
Well, but all
it's
that
Fontaine in Washington.
Wow. Yeah. I've got another friend who can share similar stories. He recalls his I think it was his grandparents. No, his parents as kids during the Great Migration from the south to the north. And then when his parents came back as adults, came down, migrated back south, that's where he grew up. That's where he was born.
Because they were like, they're just as racist up here as they are down there. I might as well go where I know. That's real shit.
But all that to say, as a white person, does that make me feel inherently guilty and feel like I need to apologize to every black person I come across and feel like I need to hand them out a $1,000 check for reparations because that's what I can only, whatever else bullshit? No.
That's not going to help, man. Don't give me no pennies. Give me a free education.
Sorry, that's just.
I want my free education. Take this $80,000 off my back. And I want to get my master's too, and y'all pay for that shit. Because, bitch, you're giving me a motherfucking fish. I want a boat, rod, reel, net. I don't want no fucking fish. Keep your pennies. Just make sure my kids can contribute to our surplus economic situation.
There you go. It's all about making it right.
Make it right, man.
Making it right and not repeating the mistakes. But for us to not repeat the mistakes, we have to learn them. We have to learn what they are. We have to acknowledge them.
First, 46 years old, the first college graduate on both sides of my family. I mean, on my father's side. Yeah. No, this shit should be free. I think Tom was already paid into this motherfucker. I want the shit to be free. And I'm a damn good nurse, so somebody's going to pay for it.
It's interesting to me that in there, and we're about to run out of time. Isn't there a fund or a stipulation or something to that effect where if you can prove that you have Native American blood in your ancestry, that you get the free education?
Take this fucking shit, because that's what
why does that not apply to the people whose backs this country was built on?
Yo, my fucking maiden name is Washington. Period, goddamn. As a matter of fact, it's Washington, all four of them. You want all four of them? It's Washington Fontaine. That was Washington was my grandfather. Fontaine was my grandmother. Jackson was my grandfather on my mother's side. And Mitchell was my grandmother on my mother's side. It was my grandmother, my mother's mother. Mitchell. Wow. All them slave owners' names. Mitchell, Jackson, Fontaine, and Washington.
Wow.
That's how all my last names would be. They're all European last names. Wow. I want to contribute to this country because this country is great because we have the platform to do what we're doing today.
Absolutely.
We have the ability to do what we're doing today. A white male and a black female, a brother and a sister sitting and having a real conversation like they normally do.
Absolutely. And seriously,
y'all,
this is kind of our regular
we be talking
conversation. So I'm not
about-
gonna lie.
Right.
Right now, we're just kind of keeping it flowing because we're on record.
we talking about some real shit. But with that being said,
Yeah.
it's like, and it's real. This is not fabricated, because this is what God has endowed us with. The ability to see past everything, but look for compassion. My brother's favorite word.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what
And
we're
that being
developing.
said, you got it. What is? Continue that last word, Monet, and
So the last word
take
I
us
wanted
out.
to share was, I don't know if I shared this before, but I was talking to one of my coworkers who's an observant Jewish woman, who she's just tickled pink. Like, Monet's, you converted to Judaism and you wear that, you don't change, you are who you are, whatever. I said, yes, I do still carry that. There's no one better than the other. I don't feel, and she's like, I can just tell you don't care. Like, there's no like, I am, this is who I am. This is who I identify. We've already established that. But she said, why? Why Judaism? And I said, well, one, because I'm responsible for myself. It's only me and God, and that's it. You don't exist in my book of who's going to check me. And there's only one entity checking me, boo. Okay? But, Jews have suffered so many atrocities. Why do they still? Because, some people be like, yo, I'm Christian. I'm Catholic. I'm Muslim.
Yeah.
I'm not claiming this shit no more.
Right.
And for generation to generation to keep saying, well, I am, he tends to work his hardest, the hardest. And if you practice like you're supposed to, I don't care. I want to be kosher and acknowledge it with God, and because, do the rituals that make me feel like I have a stronger connection to God. I get it. That's part of Judaism. But the one fundamental thing for me that sticks out is I have no excuses. I have to be good. I have to be honest. I have to be fair. I have to be loving. I have to be compassionate. And there's nothing that's going to change that. I can't be deceived. I can't feed into my human nature to be critical of others, because that's not my job. That's the case. I'm taken from his glory. Don't do that. That's wicked.
There you go.
So with the last word, the hardest ones work the hardest on being as good as they can be. And so with all of that, I say we love you very much.